Welcome to chair training. Thank you for sharing your expertise with the visiting committee and for guiding a school. Take what you learn here and make a positive impact on the school you are visiting. By the end of this session, we hope that you're able to address important accreditation concepts with the school, outline the major points to address in pre-visit work, develop a visit schedule collaboratively with the school, understand the components of strengths and growths, the value and importance of daily visiting committee meetings, coming to consensus, ensuring quality evidence to support findings and impact on student learning and well-being, and align recommended status with findings and accreditation ratings and rationales. Your materials are all found in your WASC portal. Simply log into WASC, then make sure you go to the member portal. The member portal is when you're going out on a visit. You will not find your materials in the school portal. Log in with your email and password. Then what you're looking for is reviews and visits. Look for the icon for your visit. You're going to be able to find your current materials, and you'll also be able to find documents from the school's previous visits. Most exciting is that you each have a WASC director advisor that is going to be supporting you for your success. They can answer questions. They're there to give you a great kickoff for the new season, virtual check-ins. It works in a triangulation with the principal and the self-study coordinator. Your WASC director has been working with the school for the year prior to the visit, and now it's coming over to you as the chair. They've been helping with drafts and consultations and timelines and time management. Most schools do ask for the help, but sometimes they don't. And so then as the chair, you'll be doing more of these tasks. Who is WASC as you go out and are the diplomat on this visit? WASC began in 1961. We now serve over 5,500 schools. The 35 commissioners are the ones who are receiving this report that you and your committee are writing. Partner associations. Those are the 20 partners that are with our FOL schools. What is accreditation? Of course, we call it a report, but it is self-renewal and reflection, self-evaluation, student-focused, and school-wide collaborative work. There are many beautiful, beautiful modules that are found in your portal that will help you with individual topics. There are also sample reports. We want you to have the big picture. How well are all students learning? How does the school know? And is the school doing everything to support high achievement? Prepare all students to be college and career ready in a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment. During your visit, you're going to be talking about data, school-wide learner goals, previously known as school-wide learner outcomes, or even ESLERs, major student learner needs, growth areas, to the ultimate goal of an action plan. Now, when we talk about school-wide learner goals, especially in Chapter 2 and in Chapter 3, when the indicators are lined up with those school-wide learner goals, it's okay if a school calls them school-wide learner outcomes or ESLERs or graduate profile. It's those qualities that the school wants for their students as they move on. As a reminder, if you'll share with the school that if they keep up chapters 1 and 2, significant developments and growth areas in year 1, 2, and 3 after you leave, they will have their mid-cycle report ready to go. And as they go into year 4 and 5, then that gets them ready with chapter 1 and 2 of the self-study report. A beautiful, easy cycle. You may want to stop the discussion here right now with these slides And what is your understanding of your role and responsibilities as a visiting committee chair? What we'll be doing during this presentation is going off of your chair checklist. And so it coincides with the beautiful chair checklist that has been developed for you, again, in your modules and in your documents. The WASC guiding principles: involvement and collaboration of all, the well-being of all students, the mission, vision, school-wide learner goals, high achievement for all, the analysis of data, evaluation of program effectiveness, school-wide action plan, continuous improvement. So as we go forward, we start with watching chair training. Review the continuous improvement cycle in the previous slides. Communicate and work with your school, your WASC advisor, and that pre-communication with the school. As soon as you get assigned to be a chair, feel free to reach out and just say hello. Looking forward to working with you. And then it gets more formalized as you get closer to the visit. These slides will indicate that. You're going to review prior reports, check the school website, look at a current action plan, and as I said, reaching out, introducing yourself, and that formal practice being 3 months in advance, if possible. Offer feedback on their drafts if the WASC advisor has not already done so, and then work on that timeline for them to meet their 6-week deadline of turning in the report so that you and your team have enough time to thoroughly read it, review it, and write your pre-visit concepts. Schedule a virtual pre-visit with the school. Notice this is a virtual pre-visit. If the school wants you to come in person, it's okay, but make sure that they understand that there's expenses involved. We do prefer a virtual pre-visit. Connecting with your members immediately. You might remember when you started out being a WASCeteer and you were nervous, and when will my chair contact me? I think it's important that you reach out as soon as you see a name in your portal. You will get a notification when all members are ready to go, but you might want to check your portal frequently. And when you see a name come in, send them a hello, a phone, an email, a text. Eventually, when everybody is in the portal, assignments for Chapter 3, information about the visit, hotel and schedule, and they too have a visiting committee member checklist. As you go further along, if you ever get a member that cancels or does not show, inform the WASC office immediately. Contact your advisor. Don't leave a voicemail if it's right at the end, right at the beginning of the visit. The chairperson is the keeper of the vision. So communication with your visiting committee members. Check your member portal regularly. Good idea to reach out to your members as you see them appear. And then meet virtually with your visiting committee 1 or more times. I think chairs are visiting with their teams before the report becomes available, then maybe assigns them to read and write their parts, meeting halfway through then, and then coming together before the visit. When you're working with your visiting committee, ensure that they have access to the member portal, they've watched the member training, that they understand the type of school being visited and the culture of the school. Options for communicating and making sure that you have correct and preferred information. For your members, as I was saying, best advice, contact them as you see their name coming in, but definitely be formal 2 months in advance. If you're unable to reach your members, contact your WASC advisor. If you've tried all forms of communication. Sometimes the emails go to spam because they don't know your email. Don't be afraid to reach out by phone or text. Let's move on to that pre-visit. During the pre-visit, you're going to have conversations with the school leader, self-study coordinator, and possibly the group of leaders that have been leading the self-study process. You want to ensure that the involvement of all partners is there. How was the report put together? What was the organization of the committees? Is it a committee of the whole? Is it 5 separate focus groups? You want to ensure clarification of their mission, vision, school-wide learner goals, significant changes in progress, and address visit logistics. Very, very important to understand about the school's expense reimbursement procedures. Very different from school to school. Develop the visit schedule together. There is a sample visit schedule in your resource modules. And typically, the visit is 3.5 days, but notice that we have the asterisk. Smaller schools could be less than 3.5 days. Sunday can be optional. Use those Sunday meetings on Monday. It might be a very small school. This is flexible. Typically, it is Sunday to Wednesday. Maybe instead of having a physical tour of the school, you might have a virtual tour sent to you ahead of time. You're going to be holding separate meetings with all school groups, 2 members at each focus group meeting. Meet with all focus groups, or as we were saying, if it's a committee of 1, you're going to be talking about classroom visits and always debriefing with everyone, with your members daily regarding findings. Again, we're talking about the pre-visit, talking this over with the school. You'll be sharing with them that WASC non-negotiables are daily meeting with the principal, school leader, and the visiting committee chair, daily meeting with the leadership team and visiting committee, again, meeting with all focus groups. You want to try to have 2 members at each one. You may combine groups. Maybe you'll put together instruction and curriculum and assessment. Separate meetings with students, parents, counselors, support staff, the different groups that are important at all schools. We talked about the non-negotiables. Make sure that you have daily meetings with the principal, daily meetings with that leadership team, daily meetings with your own team on what are you finding, what are you seeing, reaching consensus with your team on strengths and growths. You'll be sending a draft report on the final day for review and discussion. You'll be sending that to the school, and the confidentiality of the status recommendation. Let's talk about communication with your visiting committee. Should be ongoing communication. You want to make sure that they're involved, that they're engaged, that they're going to stay with you. There are letters that are in your portal. Send letter 2. Have all members read the entire report. Click on all evidence links. If something does not work or you need more evidence, make sure that you tell the schools ahead of time, not on the last day where they're having to find something. Right away. Your members can choose the categories that they'd like to work on. Sometimes members don't come on till the last minute, so you'll just have to ask them, do they mind doing assessment, for example? Members should be doing pre-writes in their Google Docs. You'll be setting up a Google folder. If you're struggling with how to set up a Google folder or a Google Doc, ask one of the members on the team. They'll be happy to do it for you. Have members write questions and comments on every part of the visiting committee report, not just their areas. They need to clarify other sections too. Teach them how to use the status determination worksheet, rubrics, and ensure all members are prepared. Be checking on the pre-writing progress. Then send letter 3, telling them what is going to be going on, emphasize collaboration, and review that visit schedule so that they understand. Again, you want to make sure that you're doing this ahead of time. Preparing questions for meetings. If you think that you need 10 questions for an hour-and-a-half long meeting, probably need 15 or 20. Final logistics, again, back to those reimbursements. Have your members save and copy all separate detailed meal receipts. The final receipt from a charge where it has just the total and the tip, no, you need the itemized receipt, no alcohol allowed. And daily discussing the strengths and the student learner needs. Let's move on and talk about the report. These are the manuals. The light blue is for FOL schools, the yellow is for CDE schools, and the gray is for our adult schools. In them, I would make a suggestion that you as the chair read through them again, have the members read through them, then the template, and then the sample report that's available. Overview, organization, shape of the self-study, the visit, and the follow-up. So as we look at the report, it's divided into 5 chapters plus the introduction. Typically, the chair does the introduction. You're taking their introduction, summarizing it, and bringing it down, narrowing it down. The chair typically does chapter 1, the significant developments in the growth areas. The chair typically does chapter 2, an analysis and a summary of the data that's presented. Chapter 3 is where the visiting committee's members work on their different sections, quality of the school programs, the visit findings. Chapter 4, you'll do together the strengths and the growths. You're going to be talking about these ongoing. And chapter 5 is typically the chair, ongoing school improvement as it relates to their action plan. Here's a suggested timeline. We used to kind of wait until right before the visit to start meetings, but might I suggest to you, once you receive the report, have your members read the report and write questions the first 2 weeks. Then they go to their Google Doc and pre-write. And then I would have a meeting after the 3rd week. And the reason that we're suggesting this is because we want them to pre-write, no surprises, and also to ensure that if something happens and they have to drop out of the visit, you have that pre-write ready to go. We're teaching them in their training, analytical summary, draw in additional information. Be sure to complete analytical summary from the gathered evidence. No copy pasting, but do think about using AI. There's a beautiful module available. You could have AI summarize what was said, and then you can draw in the additional information. As the module will say, human in, human out. Check to make sure that it is the WASC language, that it does include your tone and voice. Adding those additional questions, and then identifying potential strengths and growth areas. As a reminder, this is what your visiting committee report looks like. It will have the title, the criterion, A1, and then it goes into the indicators. And it is each of those indicators that the visiting committee needs to be able to respond to. Even if the school forgets to, the visiting committee is responsible for that. So that actually becomes their very first question. And they're going to write their summary narrative right there with the gold arrow is. Then from the rubric, they're going to put in their doc and justification where the blue arrow is. So it looks like this, the visiting committee report, As it relates to that A1 about do they have a vision? Does it include equity and inclusion, refinement, and understanding? The visiting committee touches on each of those areas. And then the evidence notice, it can be embedded, it can be on the side, it could be underneath. The evidence for the visiting committee does not need to be as specific as the school is going to be providing. You can say self-study report evidence. You can say focus group meetings. You can say classroom observations. Then it comes to the strengths and the growths. Make sure that the strength and the growth areas are mentioned in the narrative first. Looks something like this. And then I come back to the doc and justification. And that is going to come off of your status determination worksheet. We're calling it the rubric. So typically Tuesday night, chairs, you take your team through the entire status determination worksheet, the rubrics, to decide whether it is highly effective, effective, somewhat effective, or ineffective. Then you'll literally use these rubric statements, and then you'll embellish or you will tamper down some of the wording to it. So the school has a clearly stated vision based on current educational research and pays great attention to, and so you'll adjective it up or adjective it down. But again, one of the things that we're hearing, let me go back here. One of the things we're hearing is that this area of the doc and justification has gotten too slim. Again, the gold arrow, let's look at that. The gold arrow is narrative analytical summary. You're going to have the doc and justification with the blue arrow, and that's going to be based upon the rubrics. So it might look something like this. The school self-study is talking about professional development. And they tell you at the school they've created 4 to 6 week professional development cycle. It includes learning a strategy, practicing in class, being observed, analyzing. This cycle has benefited our teachers who are mainly new, and they have developed their instructional skills exponentially. It goes on. They've done peer observations, giving the teachers opportunity to observe their peers and use the strategies. It's proven to be invaluable in grade level discussions. Teachers can see what other teachers are doing. Cycles have included anything that is a list right up here, learning this, practicing that, analyzing this, observing that. That becomes that analytical summary. The visiting committee observed that the school has an acceptable professional development cycle. No need to repeat those. So those are some of the things when your members are writing, you're going to help them eliminate. You're going to help them eliminate. So now your thoughts are, sounds interesting. What will teachers say? How qualified? These are the questions that you're writing in the margins. So for your pre-write, the visiting committee and chairs, please, please, please have your members pre-write. Not enough time when you're on site. During professional development sessions led by the teachers, the faculty has studied a variety of strategies. Notice how they encompassed everything. These have been supported by peer and administrative observations. School says that this has been exponential. Not too much with the quote, but it's nice to have. And then this last sentence, the school was silent on the impact on student learning. That becomes your first question. You would not leave that in your writing. You would ask and then fill that in. Possible strength is their PD. Possible growth is their PD as it relates to writing. Now we go to the school, we're on our visit, we have the meeting with the different groups, we talk it over, we've gone to classroom observations, and this is the final visiting committee, right? Over the past 3 years, teachers have participated in PD sessions. They have learned and practiced a variety of strategies using both peer and administrative observations as checks. The visiting committee confirmed. The visiting committee observed. Different words like that. And it's okay to teach your members to use the same uh, stem as they go forward. After the meetings with the groups, speaking and questioning, this is a continuation of this. Speaking and questioning and responding are all incorporated. Teachers openly share with one another. Now we bring in the student voice. Everybody's involved. Everybody's involved. Students are clear in expressing that things are different all the time, yet all the teachers do sort of the same thing. And then as the visiting committee, you're making an analytical statement that this model is excellent and should be used as they move forward. Excellent, excellent write-up. The strengths and the growths, and then you're citing the evidence. Be sure those strengths and growths are in the analytical summary first. Let's talk about those strengths and growths. You'll notice the first two are completely developed into a who does what why format, and the bottom two, they're nice, they have good technology, but maybe 6 years from now, nobody will remember. So students have access to, in order to do what? To think critically and write across. The school, and it's usually better if you say administration, leadership team, and teachers have a strong and appropriate vision mission. The growth areas work much the same way. If you have decided that as a team that they need to look at their data more to use assessment results, who, the leadership, instructional staff, and other educational partners, do what? Increase the use of reviewing and analyzing student achievement data. Why? To improve student learning. Who does what, why? And then when you get to the growth areas, you're going to be delving into 3 areas. You're going to support the areas that they have identified. You might need to strengthen those. And then there'll be a 3rd area that's additional growth areas. So what I'm thinking about is that they say that they want to increase academic vocabulary for EL students. And maybe you discover actually that academic vocabulary needs to be strengthened for all students. So that's what that second bullet is there. And then additional areas are maybe something that the school didn't find, but the visiting committee found that will help them to be a better school. Tips. Don't be prescriptive. You can't say that they must use the program at your own school, that they should use the RST program. Be careful with should, must, needs to. You can use things like the school should invest. Oops, there I just used should. The school can investigate. Continue to, we want them to take action. If you say the school can research, well, they'll research and say they're done. Research and implement. Nice STEM, school leadership, instructional staff rather than school. Use action verbs, develop and implement, review and refine. And again, correlating those growth areas to their major student learner needs. Working with your own team. It's a great little team right here. Working with your own team. Make sure that you are focused on the appropriate issues. Avoid trying to say at my school because we're not at our own schools. Avoid issues related to negotiations. Make sure that you're building a file of strengths and growth areas keeping the visiting committee report to 30 pages. What you can do when you get towards the end is delete your directions and the lengthy indicators. Maybe just leave the bolded title of A11 or A12. And again, reminding members to save itemized meal receipts. We used to, sometimes as a chair, pick up the entire bill and give it back to the school and not have the members worry about it. But schools, they want everybody to have their individual reimbursement. It's a little bit shocking to them when one person turns in a reimbursement for $450. But again, it always goes back to just ask. Ask how they want that done. Always checking in with your team, consensus on critical questions, relate the questions and findings to the draft, and ensure accurate information. Ensure the ratings and rationales align with the report. If you're saying that something is amazing, 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 and then you rate it somewhat effective, it doesn't make sense. So the tonality of your report has to match the status that you decide upon. Working daily on the refinement of those strengths and growth areas, and again with the expense reimbursements. As we move towards visiting the school, thinking about how can we keep the school, how can we help the school be put at ease? Being friendly, smiling, open body language, but how can we help them feel at ease? Positive discussions, listening, listening, listening. Again, typically, notice the asterisk, the visit's going to be from Sunday through Wednesday. But if you have a small school, or there's a reason, just you and the principal and the self-study coordinator work on the variation. We'll just talk for the sake of training Sunday through Wednesday. First, you'll meet with your own team. How can we focus our review and analysis? What are we going to do about examining student work? And again, remember that evidence. If you want something, please ask for it ahead of time, not the morning of. Observing students, interviewing the students and others, and asking what are the primary areas of interest to discuss with the school. Now we move on to meeting with the school leadership. Again, typically that's Sunday afternoon. It might roll into Monday morning. What do we want to learn about the school? Talking to them about what will be different 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Primary areas of interest to the school. How can we support you? Where do you want to grow? So what you're looking at is how can we increase our understanding of the school's self-study, setting a positive tone. We do have principals that call and say, oh, they were smiling on Sunday, but they're not smiling today. And it's, well, they're probably tired, but keeping up that energy. Day 2 and 3, typically Monday and Tuesday, you're going to meet with all school focus groups. You're going to be meeting with all school educational partners, debriefing with the principal, debriefing with the leadership team, examining student work, observing the students, interviewing the students and others. Important, working with your colleagues on the report and status worksheet. I might make the case to you that before the day starts, you're meeting with your team. What are we going to accomplish? 10 o'clock coffee break. What are we seeing? What are we hearing? Bringing them back together before the focus group meetings, which are typically around 3 o'clock, 3:30. What are we going to ask? Do we know what we need to do? That final day, you are going to turn over a draft report to the school. You're going to work on that report. Again, typically it's going to be Wednesday. You're going to work on that report in the morning till about 10 or 11 o'clock. And at that time, you'll turn it over to the school for them to go over it. Most of the time, I think chairs are turning it over to the school, letting them go over it on their own. But you could do it together. So your team is working on the report in the morning. You turn it over to the principal in a PDF form, put draft across it, let them take a look at it. They look for clarifying questions, answers. Then you come back together and discuss it, visiting committee and the leadership team. Make final modifications as needed. Finalize status, recommendation, and rationale with your own team, and then you'll present a PowerPoint to the entire school. So the visiting committee leaves a second to last draft with the school on Wednesday. You're going to discuss this with the school's team, clarify it, and then you'll present to the school just the strengths and the growths. It's a PowerPoint that is in your portal within your materials. And then the chair sends a final report within 10 working days. It's important that this is PDF sent to the school with a nice email. Thank you for the visit, and get it to WASC. The WASC commissioners are meeting 3 times a year, the end of January, the end of April, and the end of June. Let's move into the status determination. What best supports the school? How do we help the school? The status rationale is based on findings. And as we talked about, we want to make sure that the tone matches. So there's a few possibilities. A 6-year accreditation with the mid-cycle report. Everybody has to do that. As we said, the mid-cycle report entails chapter 1 and 2 of a self-study, significant developments, growth on the growth areas, and updated data. It might be the progress report and a mid-cycle visit. There is also probation if it is a seriously out of line with the expectations of a WASC self-study. And that you would see mainly somewhat effectives and effectives. And then, do we need to come back after a year or after 2 years? Accreditation status withheld, you definitely want to call your WASC advisor and talk that over with them, or any of the directors that are available at that moment. That's very serious, as you can imagine. Doesn't happen very often, and probations actually don't happen very often. But again, matching the tonality of your report with your status option. So as mentioned earlier, you and your team will go through your rubrics all the way through. It's about 14 pages. And decide on the guiding principles, involvement of all, use of prior accreditation areas, and then A 1 through 5, B1, 2, C, D, and E, as to whether it's highly effective or effective. Now, something I'd like to point out here. Look at this right under number 5 here. What is highly effective? This is one of the areas that members have a problem with. Well, what's highly effective to person A? What's highly effective to person B? No, it's what's highly effective as it relates to WASC and the indicators and the rubric. Highly effective is high degree of impact on student learning. Effective is considered satisfactory level of impact on student learning. And then we have limited impact, and you can imagine ineffective is little or no impact. So always have your team anchor back here. Then you'll use these statements in your doc and justification. Coming to consensus, you might have this first area involvement of all. One of your members says, well, I think it's highly effective. 3 of you think it's effective and somebody thinks it's somewhat effective. You come to consensus by discussing. And notice that there's 3 bullets here. You might have one bullet that is highly effective, and then the other 2 bullets are effective. That's how you know that it's effective. But you'll sweep up that rubric, the first bullet, the second 2 bullets, and then you'll make it the language of the school. It's not the narrative summary, you're using the rubric. After the visit, within 2 weeks, you're going to send a final report back to the school PDF and upload it to the chair's member portal. Remember, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. You cannot change content. You're looking for editing. You're going to submit the status recommendation through your action card. Send the final visiting report to the school with a thank you note, and complete the visiting committee member evaluations. Some practical tips that the WASC director advisors have put together. Might want to make sure that you bring along a flash drive, or make sure that your docs are also on your hard drive. In case of the internet going out, it really slows everything down if the internet is out for the entire day. The school typically takes care of the hotel reservations and payment. There are a few districts that have the members pay first and are reimbursed. Again, the chair checking with the school and understanding reservations and reimbursements. Each member pays for their own meals and then is reimbursed for meals and mileage and itemized receipts. Check the per diems, no $100 steaks, and keep a photocopy of your receipts in case they get lost and you need to resubmit. So I hope that you've enjoyed this training. I hope that we've addressed important accreditation concepts based upon your chair checklist, outlined and expanded upon major points, the pre-visit with the school and the members, developing that schedule collaboratively, ensuring non-negotiables are part of the visit, the components of strengths and growths with the who does what why, the importance of daily visiting committee sharing and coming to consensus, and aligning that recommendation status with your findings and the final ratings and rationales. Most of all, thank you, and we hope that you'll join us on another visit real soon. Thank you. Good luck. Let us know how we can help. Bye-bye for now.